Hi, everybody. This is Tom with Culture Chap. So today I have a sort of a roundabout subject, but I think it lands on having more run throughs earlier. I first wanted to title this video Be Willing to Be Wrong, but that's not going to get much attention, is it? So people understand run throughs. Here's how I'm going to get there. The concept of run throughs being only at the end of your rehearsal or towards the end or at the 3/4 mark of rehearsal is not working for a lot of theaters. Now, you know as well as I do, we're in sort of a strange, amorphous, dark ages kind of thing where theaters are closing and shows are closing and budgets are slashed and so forth. Don't let that be you, all right? And I think if you do a combination of things, one, be willing to be wrong. Maybe you're not wrong. Maybe you're not getting your information out as a director or as an actor or a producer or artistic director. Maybe you're not getting your information out correctly about the show you're doing. And that could be anything about the show. Like, there's one that comes to mind, which is a version of Merry Wives of Windsor. And it's too long of a story to say. But by the time we sort of established that this guy wants to marry Miss Anne, I sort of noticed that the person coming to Miss Anne to marry her, and Miss Anne was actually a high school senior. It was like, but your casting has just made this a very different story, which is not the original story. The actor you've chosen, and Miss Anne quickly, they're very different ages. And the way he's coming towards her with bravado, which was his character in all the other scenes, is making this a little creepy. And the director, and this was when I was an assistant director, so not quite my place, but also, yes, your place. Like, what are we doing here? Is this the meaning that you're after? Of course, she refuses him, and that's part of the story. It can be very easily twisted on its ear nicely if when he gets there, he's sheepish. So his bravado was in front of the rest of the people of the town, but by the time he reaches his woman he tends to marry, he's sheepish, he's shy, he's not that guy. And the lines tilt very easily, where she can be like, buddy, no, no. I appreciate your interest. You're very nice, but I have no interest in you. She's very nice with him. You know, the lines are there, so you can tilt it so that he's not as predatory, and vice versa. Even if the roles were changed, if it was a young man, an older woman, even if it was anything like that, be willing to be wrong, and that's anything. There was a song I directed in the musical Little Women, and we had such a hard time getting the accent from where we were in California to be more of an East Coast Yankee accent. For those of you in the UK, Yankee area is different than California. I know when I see your maps, you draw a little map that says New York, California, and then a big blob in the middle says Texas. It's very funny. But the crisping up the accent wasn't happening, and I was so tilted towards that crisping up the accent that by the time one of the songs came around, we were really mispronouncing one of the words. We were overdoing the pronunciation of the words to hit the consonants. And it wasn't a pleasant song, even though it was a great song, meant to be fun. It didn't sound good in the overpronunciation we were doing because I really went too far. So luckily, unfortunately, I didn't have an assistant director on that. And I had an artistic director who came to a run through and said, what are you doing? This isn't working. It's not fun. It's not doing what the song is trying to convey because of the pronunciation. What are you doing? He was a little rougher than that, but I deserved it. I don't think you should be rough with admitting that you're wrong. I don't think you should be rough with telling people, are you being wrong? Is this the thing you had intended? Is this what you're doing? And I think the way forward in all of this is to be a much more open producer, a much more open director, artistic director, everything, and have easy discussions. But those can really start happening when you have more run-throughs. Okay? There's a lot of people that do a lot of table work. There's a lot of reading and this and that, and oh, the lines say this, what does this mean? That's great. But sometimes they can be sitting there for a week when you only have 4 weeks to rehearse. And that just doesn't seem to work. Get up on your feet, start figuring these things out. You'd be surprised how much more your actors, everyone involved, figures things out more when they start including basic blocking in those first few sessions of getting to know their lines. And on and on and on. I could do this, this means that. I could do this action, this will reinforce this line. I could enter this time, that reinforces that line, and this scenario, and all that kind of thing. If you're up on your feet earlier, you can start having run-throughs quicker and more frequently. And artistic directors and producers, start going to those run-throughs. I would prefer to see a run-through. If you're doing a 4-week build, I would prefer you people out there do a run-through every week, even if that first week does not have blocking or barely any blocking. We sort of know where things are. Maybe that first run-through has a little bit of narrator saying, now we're in the library, now we're in this, because maybe your set isn't totally built. Okay, so that everybody else can get a picture of what's going on and what the meaning is. And by the second and third week's run-throughs, you can really see what's going on, and everybody else can, and they can catch those things that might be a mistake. Overpronunciation like me, or being in the wrong place at the wrong time, entering too quickly, getting the information out in a pleasant manner when it's a good piece. You know, there's a lot of things I see on stage now where the mom is angry or the sister is angry or the man is angry, and they start to yell immediately with anger. And sometimes it's a comedy scene and you're like, but frustration is much funnier than anger. And if you start with anger, how will you gear up to where you need to be? If you start at 10 and it only goes to 10, start with frustration. 2, 3, what's going on? What are you saying? No. 4, 5, 6, and I'm angry. It works much better. It builds a better scene. And maybe you didn't realize that for whatever reason. You were choosing a certain style of character, and that's the way you saw them, but you forgot about their nuances. That's okay. People make mistakes. You're okay, director. You're okay, actor. Everybody else. What is the message we're getting out there? And if you have run-throughs, then the people that are coming to your run-throughs, and include designers, and maybe someone from the outside world, whatever you want, maybe students, maybe people that you didn't choose as an assistant director, but you would in the future, because you can't have 10 assistant directors on a show. Invite them and listen to them and tell them, I don't want to sit in a talkback for hours. I want a clear and concise message. And people that are giving these feedback things, ask questions. Is this what you intended? Does this work with that other scene and this other character and who this person is? Because as you're piecing it together, you may have lost track of that, or the actor, for whatever reason, maybe their schedule for rehearsal is really chopped up and they haven't seen a through line to their character or an arc in the same way you have. This is everybody getting on the same page to create the best piece possible. Best piece possible. That's a lot of P's. And I think with run-throughs that are well attended each time, and I know producers and artistic directors, you're very busy people. Go to these run-throughs. This is part of your job, all right? Just because your theater hasn't done it in the past doesn't mean you shouldn't try now. You are trying to produce the best piece possible that you will have patrons come to show after show. Every show is a guide to the next show. Every good show you do now is a ticket in the future, and the next year, and the next year. All your pieces should be excellent, as best as you can make them, completely. Sometimes you try your hardest, and the piece just isn't good, for whatever reason. It's very different to say, we tried really hard, we all weighed in, it just didn't congeal, it didn't work out, rather than, I wish I kept better track of that piece and talked with them about the problems I saw in it rather than just seeing the finished product on opening night and thinking, what the hell? What just happened? Where could we have fixed it? What are they doing? How did they go wrong? And not to point fingers at people saying, you're wrong. Just understand the nature of building a show. Piece by piece, area by area. Lack of run-throughs really is not a good thing. Once a week. I know I'm going to get some bad comments on this, saying, oh, I could never do that. You're asking too much, blah, blah, blah. If you're having rehearsals, a run-through is a rehearsal just with other people watching and some feedback for the director. Maybe not to the whole cast. That might be too much as you're building. That might be a little too demoralizing as you're building the show to have the artistic director come in and scold people for things that you haven't really worked out, that you're still working on. But when you get to the final run through, those things should be solved. You should have a very cohesive show. And don't forget, this is the years of COVID and flu, and right now it's the winter. Anything could happen, and you could lose someone for whatever reason. You can always lose someone unintentionally. They have a tragedy in the family. They get sick with COVID. They have to drop out. They stomp out because they're mad they're not the lead. Anything could happen. The more run-throughs you've had means in the better shape you are already in to run right in and fix that gap. Everybody else will know how to help the new person because they've all done run-throughs. She stands here and does this. If you want to do the same thing, great. We're not reinventing the wheel. This is what the first person did. This is what the people on stage with that person knows where they were, perhaps better than the rest of you that are sitting at the directing table. Stage manager, assistant director, director. Okay? So the more run-throughs you have, the better shape you will be in. Okay? I'm tripping over my words a little bit, but I'm very passionate about this topic because I really believe in this. And yes, I believe in it because I've been in that space where someone stomped out at Sitzprobe because she wasn't the lead. Very angry. And then when the new person came in and we had 3 days to get the show up and running, I did my directing, but all the other actors knew every bit of blocking that she needed to hear. And they were directing her better than I could. Not telling her intention and things like that. But when someone stomps out right before you open, you don't have a lot of choice about getting this new person to make their own choices. They had to sort of make the choices and deepen what the other person did who left the show for whatever reason. So, because we had a lot of run-throughs, we got off book very quickly. This all helped me greatly. And thank God those other actors did this because she was ready and she was stellar. It was perfect. All right. Well, I hope this doesn't happen to you, but start run-throughs. Make sure those mistakes don't happen to you. And if they do, it's okay. We make mistakes. We tighten the show. We're always refining the show. Let that be you. Directors, producers, keep better track of what's happening. Go to those run-throughs. Walk in rehearsals once in a while. All right? You're not spying. You're helping. We're all responsible for the best show possible. Okay. Intense. I'm not scolding anybody. I'm really not. I'm just making suggestions. Although some of you in the comments are like, you scolded us. I'm like, I don't know you. Thank you for watching. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please watch some more videos and please subscribe and we'll talk again. All right. Bye.